Good morning. Okay, you should know me by now that I'm gonna make you do it again. Good morning. Okay, that's better. That's better. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Oakland. I am Reverend Connie Simon, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Reverend Sam Wilson, and we're here to do something a little different today. So we ask you to remain open and curious and come along with us on a journey. And to start that journey, what better song to sing than Come Sing a Song with Me? Please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able, and let's sing hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me.
Good morning. My name is Marilyn McMahon, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. We'll start with this acknowledgement that the land and the peoples who belong to this land, the Lishan Ohlone peoples, our church and institutions and homes are occupying their lands, ancestral and current. We acknowledge that the lands were stolen from the Ohlone peoples, who have an ancestral relationship with this land, the plants, the animals, and the water for millennia, continues to the present day. Ohlone people are still here. We also recognize that the Ohlone ancestors in spirit and of the land are present. In solidarity with all Indigenous people and the right to self-determination and justice, we commit to working toward accountability of the theft, dispossession, and resulting trauma Native peoples continue to face. We commit to being active partners toward the healing of the intergenerational trauma which persists to this day. Amen. So may we live. And a few announcements. If you're new to this church, we invite you to a 10-minute orientation at the end of the service. Emily Stoper will meet you down in front of the pulpit to answer your questions. And next Sunday after the service, there will be an exploring membership meeting. It's a chance to get to know one another better, to learn a bit about our church, and to discuss what it means to be a member of this congregation. Again, that's Sunday, the 21st. The rest is all about today. During the workshop today in Venti Hall from 12 to 2, there will be childcare at a table with games. And we'd like another volunteer to help out with the childcare during the workshop. If you're willing to play games with the children from noon to 2, please talk to Jeff Melcher or me, or just find the games table and introduce yourself. Finally, for those of you on Zoom, the workshop from 12 to 2 will be hybrid. Just stay on the Zoom link you're on after the service, or you can leave and just rejoin with the same link.
Good morning, friends. I am one of 3 of your welcome this morning. And so I admit that I'm nervous to talk to you today about something so precious and so vulnerable, the very future of our beloved First Unitarian Church of Oakland. We were instructed by Hope for Us to talk about our hopes and fears, and in particular, why I stay here at this church as my spiritual home. I've dedicated my life to building a Unitarian Universalism that I may never see in my lifetime. I've dedicated my life to an anti-racist, anti-oppressive, multicultural, multi-religious Unitarian Universalism that I need as a person of color in this faith, my chosen spiritual home. I need accountability and reconciliation, and for us to be in right relationship with one another, for we will need each other for the work ahead. I need my First Unitarian Church of Oakland to look like and feel like and worship like the diversity of Oakland that surrounds us. We are not yet there, my friends, and my fears is that if we remain a privileged, inward-facing social club for the wealthy, then our church of 155 years will no longer exist, and we will not have a liberal religious home on the corner of 14th and Castro. In the weeks after Pastor Ninan's resignation, the member ministers of the church board bonded together to help hold the ministerial presence in the weeks and months and now year after these troubled times. Director of Religious Education Jeff Melcher said something to me during those times that has been a guiding force in my ministry with you this past year. He said, 1 step back, 2 steps forward. So if there ever was a time to lean 1,000% into our vision of an anti-racist, anti-oppressive, multi-religious, multicultural, Unitarian Universalism, it is now, my friends. We have new folks of color coming into our doors, and they're asking us, is this a spiritual home for me? They're asking us, do these people walk their talk, or are their principles and covenants just words to be blown into the wind like dust? Without substance, integrity, or transformation, I've been deeply asking myself if we hold on too tightly to the past, we will never be able to welcome the future with open arms. So may we do the individual and institutional work that must be done. May we be worthy of the struggles that came before. May we be worthy of our beloved town of Oakland, worthy of the promises of our Unitarian Universalist faith. This is my hope and my prayer. Thank you for being here today.
I'm a latter-day Unitarian Universalist. Having not heard of the movement prior to stepping into this room with my husband, Greg, 30 years ago this month. We had no idea what to expect. I was nervous, not wanting to act stupid, do the wrong thing. I prayed there would be no kneeling. But we risked embarrassment and discomfort with the unfamiliar to open ourselves up to the possibility of it feeding our souls. That first service turned out to be based on Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are and included a longtime congregant Chuck Rosine's rock band, Buffalo Rome. We thought we'd died and gone to heaven. In those first few months, there was a service on baseball and one on alcoholism and one that taught me about real compassion led by a layperson who told us about accompanying the young man who assaulted her daughter. Think of that. Through the justice system. All real, all relevant, all good. And the minister encouraged us to trust in the conversation. And that was good too. That September, Greg and I experienced our first Day of Atonement service, forgiving ourselves, forgiving one another, and beginning again in love, while tears streamed down our faces. Later, this congregation held me together one summer when Greg and I took a break from each other for a month and accompanied me during the decline and subsequent death of first my mother and then my father. You did that. Thank you. When all seemed lost after the election of November 2016, the congregation gathered in this room for the annual holiday concert, dimmed the lights down really low, and sang John Lennon's Imagine a cappella. And 2 weeks ago, Betty Bobo Seiden, at 94, grabbed the mic, much to my surprise, and led us all in singing This Little Light of Mine. And she killed it. This is a magic place. This is a holy place. This can be a transformative place. My hope is that First Oakland can be such a magic, holy, and transformative place, not just for me, but for each person who walks into this room, hoping against hope that their gifts will be appreciated and their souls will be fed. That's my hope. What are my fears? Intellectually, I know that there's no greater truth than the only constant is change. But frankly, often as not, I don't want to. Oftentimes, I find it easier to say yes to the imperfect but familiar old than to risk saying yes to the possibilities of the hopeful but unknown new. I know when I live in the past, however, I miss out on the opportunities of the present. The beauty of the last 30 years is that they have been a succession of experiences that were not known in advance, a succession of surprises, the nature of which I couldn't have predicted, that ultimately nurtured my gifts and fed my soul. You did that. Thank you. While I don't know in any detail about the process to come, that's how I'm able to deal with my fears today. Fears of the unknown, fears of change, even the very same fear of looking stupid that accompanied me when I walked into this room 30 years ago. Will you join me in being vulnerable, in telling your story and in trusting in the conversation? We need one another. We also need to forgive ourselves, forgive one another, and begin again in love. Thank you.
morning. My name is Leslie Skipa, and some of you may not know who I am, which is understandable because I've only been coming to church since June. Those of you that do know me might know me from choir, or the worship team, or JTW, or the BIPOC caucus, or any of the other things I have jumped right into, because that is what I do at church. I jump right in. I do this partially for selfish reasons. I want to be a part of a community that sees me in all my glory, a disabled, middle-aged, mixed-race weirdo who wears sunflowers on my clothes, and, and I appreciate you recognize my contributions. I don't need to be singled out or praised. I just want to be in a community where I feel needed and appreciated, and where I can give back to everyone else. Isn't that what we all want? For me, the Unitarian churches are kind of the perfect place for this, because to my mind, the purpose of a church is to be of service. In the simplest terms, the church serves its members and friends who make up the community, and the community in turn serves the church by serving each other, because we are the church. Thank you. In an ideal world, we each take a turn leaning into the support the church gives us, and we each take a turn lifting up those who need our support. That's a community I want to be a part of. The thing is, I don't get the sense that there's a lot of leaning or lifting going on around here right now. Yeah, we're keeping the doors open and the lights on, while people are walking around in pain and anger and sadness and avoiding each other's gaze and pulling away. Not everyone, not all the time, but enough that I've noticed. I only have a vague sense of the events of last year that people are citing as the reason things are the way they are right now. And as a new person here, I'll be completely honest, I don't care about the details. I don't care who's right and who's wrong. I don't care about why some people aren't talking to each other. What I care about is finding a way through this where we acknowledge the hurt and the anger. I care about whether we are being accountable to each other for the things we've said and done. I care about finding a way we can move forward together. Because one thing that I have heard from people in this church over and over again is that in the past, we've been here for each other. You've held each other when you needed it. Because you've all put in so much love into making this church a beloved community. And I know we can find our way back to that in a way that includes everyone and invites all people into fellowship. So, to anyone who is new here today, welcome, and thanks for coming. You are not, maybe not seeing us at our best, and that's okay, because you're seeing us do the work. And I hope that encourages you all to come back. And now I will light our chalice in the Unitarian Universalist tradition, as well as our peace candle and our Black Lives Matter candle.
Thank you. Good morning. Oh, you are so at your best right now. We want to invite you in after having heard the words and prayers of some of your own members to offer some of your own. You were given sheets of paper as you walked in, and if you haven't received them, someone will come up to you and offer you another. I see a hand. They're working their way around. Thank you. We'll be inviting you in to a guided practice of looking inside and seeing what your own hopes and fears might be. And you'll have a chance to write them on these sheets of paper that are coming to you. And those will be collected in baskets, and they'll be up here with me and Reverend Kevin. And we'll be sorting them and reading them out loud later. So with that knowing, as these papers come around, I'm going to invite you into a time of grounding and meditation. Now, one thing I'd like to say before I, quote, lead you anywhere, is that you don't have to go. So the more important thing in this practice is choosing what you do rather than doing what you're told. So I invite you, even as I'm speaking, if I'm speaking and inviting you to think of things or do something and it's not working for you, to feel safe to choose the thing that does and go where you need to go. We also have pencils if anyone needs a pencil. And as we begin, we're just getting into our chairs, or if we're on Zoom, wherever we are right now, that sweet rustling sound of all the people around us. And we're sinking in specifically to this place, on this planet, in this building, connected by computer or here in person. And the invitation is just first to notice your own body. To turn your agenda away from writing or thinking the perfect thing and just actually notice what you are feeling in your own being. What it feels like to have feet, or what it feels like to have knees, or what it feels like to have skin. Your embodiment, so different and unique. Your breath in and out. In and out. In and out. That unfurling of your breath inside your lungs and through your nose. And I invite you in this space, holding your breath and your body close to this earth, held by the ground of all being that holds each of us, to invite an ally or an ancestor into your consciousness. Now, this ally or ancestor might be a friend, it might be an animal, it might be a tree or a grandparent. They might have already died or they might still be alive, but let them come to you. Maybe Maybe there's 1 or 2 or 3. I invite you to imagine the people that deeply know you and deeply love you, where you've caught glimpses of sweet compassion and deep understanding from another person. I also invite the ally or ancestor that knows your bullshit. That ally or ancestor who sees you and loves you, but knows you so deeply that they know when the words you say come from the wounds you have. And bring that person right up next to you with that loving, sharp gaze those people tend to have. And let these beings encircle you. Maybe there's one at your left or your right. Maybe there's one at your back. Maybe there's one at your feet, like a beloved pet or animal who looks at you with a sweetness you just haven't felt from a human being. I ask you to let these beings regard you with that depth of understanding. And letting them see you, what fears do they see deep in your heart or soul? These ones that know you so deeply cut right past the superficial fear. They see the thing you're really, really, really afraid of. And as these beings look at you with all their love and kindness and clarity, what longings do they see in you? That grand intention that you wish could be nourished. The hope. Let these beings all around you, seeing you with this kindness and this clarity, with this nod of deep understanding, feel their loving gaze and witness. And then let yourself move out beyond the circle of your own ancestors to feel the group that is in this room. Imagine their wide witnessing, a depth and capacity that relates so big, so wide, so deep, that it can even hold the thing that you feel most vulnerable about. May these ancestors and allies bless our practice. The practice of decompressing ourselves from a simple story into one that is so rich and deep and complex, it can only be held by the whole. I invite you as you come back into this space, these ancestors gathered around you, or maybe these ancestors fold themselves up like notes in your pocket, or maybe these ancestors blast into glitter, decomposable and spread out in the room like a sacred dust. And I invite you to speak the words of their wisdom right onto your page. Come out from within and write. What is your hope and fear? Grab your pencil, write onto your paper. What is my hope and fear? What am I really, really afraid of? And what am I really, really hoping for? And if you're on Zoom, you can put your hopes and fears into the chat box. You can send them privately to Hope for Us, or you can put them right into the chat box. And folks are in this space are writing. The folks on Zoom might not see it. There's pens and there's papers and people looking down. And people can continue to write. We're just going to begin singing our song, Comfort Me, but keep writing. And those of you who are ready, join in singing with us. Comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Imagine our ancestors rise if it feels good in any way, spiritually or on your feet or by your hands, raising our voices in song together. Oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me. One more time. Let's do it one more time, Vince. Comfort me. Comfort me. Comfort me. Comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Thank you.
I want to say what's at stake for me in the process we're about to begin. What's at stake is whether some of us are afraid to show up here with their whole selves. I have in mind Black, Indigenous, and people of color here. I have in mind anyone who has dissented from party line thinking here. I have in mind anyone who hesitates to say what they really think or what they really feel. What's at stake is whether I can really know each of you. If you are afraid to show up whole, then I can't fully see you, which is a horrible loss for me and for you. What's at stake is whether I can show up here and say what I really think and feel, and whether I can be really seen. So what's at stake is what we are as a church. Whether we're a nice social place where we go along to get along, where we only see each other's acceptable masks, where a lot of the connections among us are superficial. Whether we keep being the place where for years I thought my experience of this place, of being here, was what it was like to be here. How could I have missed for so long that people of color have very different experiences here? What's at stake is whether we can create a brave space of deep, kind honesty and open-hearted listening, whether we can truly hear each other and thus become a deeper, closer community where our differences and our strong disagreements are seen and are held in love. It's really scary, but I really have hope that with hope for us guiding us, we can do this. This is a chance for me to become a more substantive person in a community of more substantive work and deeper bonds. And ushers, please come forward. In the spirit of these hopes for our future, please give generously. But those who are here for the first time, your presence is gift enough, so please let the basket pass you by.
I got some stuff to say, so I wanted to come to the big place. Every now and then you got to do that. And over the last several years, touched by the history of all our congregations, it feels important to me to be in their original pulpits, to feel the years of history and the multitude of voices that have spoken through this place. So if you didn't hear me earlier, my name is Reverend Connie Simon, and I am the interim minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Davis, California. Why am I here today? Well, because I am also a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Hope for Us conflict engagement team. But that's not my really. I'm really here because I love Unitarian Universalism, theologically and spiritually. I'm here because I believe that it offers a needed message for our weary world. I'm really here because I want to support the places where UUism lives. Our institutions, our organizations, our congregations, and our people. Now, I know we're not perfect. Unitarian Universalism is not perfect. It has its flaws. As a movement, we struggle with how to be together as an association of individual congregations. We carry both the hopes and the fears, and the strengths and the weaknesses, and in some ways, the good and the not so good of our ancestors that saw them stretch the bounds of theological imagination, yet create an often classist, overly intellectualized movement that was rarely welcoming of women, of people of color, of the poor, and of others with marginalized identities. We're doing better. But we're still not there yet, wherever there is. And why should we be perfect? I mean, Unitarian Universalism, after all, is a microcosm of the world. And Lord knows there are troubles in the world right now. Globally, think about it for a minute. Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Hamas, Yemen, Syria. The lists go on and on. Paul Post in The Atlantic, I don't know if any of you saw this, wrote an article where he said that there have been more armed conflicts in the world in just the last 2 years at any time since the Second World War. Let that sink in for a minute. Globally, we have issues. Our nation is on fire. We are divided politically and ideologically in ways that defy imagination. Our leaders, if you want to call them that, can't even carry on civil conversations with one another. In too many places, we are divided racially, culturally, and economically. Some have more than enough, and others don't even have the bare necessities. Our congregations are a microcosm of our larger society and of our world. Our congregations struggle with declining pledge budgets, with aging membership, with fewer volunteers, and disagreements about what to do and how to do it. And in the midst of all that sits the First Unitarian Church of Oakland. You are not immune from any of these things. You are part of the world. And yet, you are here together. Now, there were a few people in our welcomings this morning who pondered the question and raised the topic of what happened here. Well, I've learned that it depends on who you ask. Our minister was bullied. Our minister was ineffective. Our minister quit. The 7 drove our minister away. The church is racist. There's a shadow power regime in the church. The UUA did this to us. Those are all stories that I've heard from you. So depending on who you ask, you get a different story about what happened here. And the odd thing about it is that every single one of them is telling their truth. Every single one of them is telling their story about what happened here. And as you can tell just from that little bit, there's not just one story here at FUCO. And no one story of all of these is more important or more true than any other. Repeat after me. No one story is more true or more important than any other. Say it again. No one story is more true or more important than any other. Because every story matters. And every story matters because every one of you matters. I see some of you out there. I do this wherever I preach, and people are like, she was looking at us. And I do. I look around. I check people's reactions to the things that I say. And it may make me change what I'm going to say next. And it's going to make me change what I had planned to say next. I see some of you looking at me skeptically. Like, yeah, whatever. Every story matters, blah, blah, blah. Just bear with me. Bear with me for a minute. Wherever it came from, whatever its source, you got conflict. Simple. The question is, now what? And I've heard multiple responses on that one too. We're just going to carry on as usual. It'll die down eventually. No, it won't. It won't. Well, if the people who left would just come back, then everything would be okay. If so-and-so would come back, then we all could work on it and sit down together. That's a whole lot of pressure to put on somebody else. Those people left because they chose to leave. For whatever reason, they chose to leave. And now you're hanging the responsibility for the future of the entire congregation on them? That does not sound even remotely fair or even realistic. Besides, what if they don't ever come back? Does that mean y'all are just going to sit here and do nothing? Just a question. Another story I've heard is, well, they have to change. They have to be different. They have to do something because this whole mess was their fault anyway. Now, I'm wondering, who is they? When I was a kid, if we said they did it, they were doing it first, Mom, so I decided I should do it too, the first question out of my mother's mouth was, who is they? She would call them the ubiquitous they. This they that's everywhere doing things. We are they. Each of us is they. I've heard folks talk about the seven, the BIPOC folk, the old members, the white members. They have to apologize. They have to back down. They have to change. And maybe there are some apologies needed on multiple fronts from multiple people. Maybe some folks do need to cool their rhetoric a little bit, because sometimes it's not helpful. Sometimes it gets in the way of the healing. It gets in the way of the real conversation. We can yell and scream all we want and say we're doing the work, but really all we're doing is yelling and screaming. Sometimes we have to talk quietly to do the work. So maybe there are some folks who need to change their thinking. Maybe there are some folks who might need to look at their behavior. Maybe there are some folks who need to rethink their way of being together in community. Maybe you all do. Maybe we all do. My beloveds, and you are my beloveds, if you believe in the promise of Unitarian Universalism, if you believe in the strength of covenantal community, if you believe in these places where we are together because we choose to be together, then you have to come together. You have to. You have to learn to see yourselves again as one community. A community where you care for one another, where you love on one another when somebody's hurting, where you learn from one another, where you grow spiritually by being together with one another, where you do the work of anti-oppression together, where you serve one another and your community together. You have to come together as the First Unitarian Church of Oakland, a body of folks together because they choose to be together. No more of this choosing side stuff. No more ascribing motives and projecting stories onto other people. You have to come together to work through your issues. I know we're asking you to do a lot. We're asking you to get quiet and listen really, really careful. We're asking you to be open, to be flexible, to be vulnerable, to maybe not have worship look exactly the same way it looks every Sunday when we're here. We're asking you to consider new ways of thinking, to be open to the possibilities. It's a lot. You invited us here to walk this path with you, and we'll be right here with you. Our role is not to tell you what to do. Our role is to help you figure out what you want to do and to help you do it. That's not much, is it? Seriously, we know that times are hard. Everything's harder now than it was in the before times. And you can define the before times however you want. Before COVID, before George Floyd, before the 2016 election, before the economic crash of 2008, whatever your before times are. It's harder now than it was then. We understand that money is tight and volunteers are few. We know that folks are tired and stretched and overextended, and still, we're here to ask you to stick with it. There's never going to be a perfect time to do this work. You know that in your lives. You say, I'm going to start that diet on Monday. You got New Year's resolutions. I'm going to start going to the gym on the 1st of the month. There's never a perfect time to do this work. And anyway, do you really think you can wait each other out? Do you really think that's possible? I don't know about you, but I'm getting old. The UUA has started sending me invitations to retirement seminars. None of us is going to be here forever. Do you want to miss the opportunity to do this work while you can? No. And what about the new people? Quite a few new folks have started coming here since your last minister left. Some of them have told us they don't even know what's going on here. They're looking for a community, but they're not sure about the turmoil and the discard that they see here. What do you say to them? Are you just going to leave them hanging? Here's a truth. There are a lot of folks who love FUCO and want it to heal. There are a lot of folks who need you to survive, and I'm not going to start singing. But they need you to survive. That's why I'm here. Really, really. Because I care about you. Reverend Sam and Reverend Jamie, who's not here with us today, care about you. The UUA cares about you. I know it's not perfect either, and some institutional weaknesses contributed to where you are right now. But the UUA does care for you. From Melissa James and the Pacific Western Regional staff, to the staff in Boston, to each of your 1,000 sibling congregations from Maine to Honolulu, from Alaska to Miami. They are all cheering you on. We are cheering you on. Think about it. That's why you are still here. With whatever combination of anger and hurt and confusion you're carrying right now in your heart, whatever you're carrying, you're still here because you love the First Unitarian Church of Oakland and you want it to survive. You need it to survive. That's why now is the time to act, to release the anger and the fear that's weighing you down, to really, really listen to one another's stories, to open your hearts and your minds to the possibilities of transformation and hope, to work together on forging a path into the future. Not next month or next year. Not when you have a budget surplus, not when you reach a certain membership number, not when so-and-so comes back, not when you lose those last 5 pounds. Now. Now. For our collective faith, for the folks who will be here long after all of us are gone, for the new people today, the people who are new in this room right now, and for the ones who don't even know that they're going to come here in the future. For your children and their children. For each of us individually. And for all of us together. We must do it now. Please. Thank you.
we want to lift up your hopes and fears. There were so many, so rich. This is a selection.
Friends taking opposite sides in conversations, controversies, and being caught in the middle.
My hope is that we actually talk to each other.
My fear is that my leadership wasn't enough or even helped to get us into this mess.
I hope there's a renewed trust and common sense of purpose between us.
My fear is why FUCO isn't drawing a greater Black, Indigenous, people of color membership and many more young people. I fear that I'm not giving enough in the service and taking more than I'm giving. I fear I don't walk my talk.
I'm hoping to deeply love and be loved and to be in community and be of service. I'm hoping to find that here.
I fear congregants in covenant will put me and others in a box with a label instead of listening to, hearing, and validating my experience of the fraying of the public in this community.
I'm hoping to be held through ups and downs. I'm hoping to be connected with a community who actually sees me as I really am.
I fear that people here are stuck in blame and hurt, and that the energy of resentment or feeling misunderstood will keep the whole community mired in conflict and disconnection.
My hope is that we are a healthy balance of proud and humble.
I fear that there won't be a place for me. I fear that this congregation will fold, that we will just stay the same.
I hope that our tapestry will be rewoven and strengthened, and that our interconnections will allow us to accomplish all the things we set out to do, that we all feel served, even if for just a moment something isn't quite working.
I fear that I am not able to live up to the needs and basic decency expected of their congregation and of its potential community.
I hope we don't go through this process and call ourselves fixed. I fear we will.
I fear that I won't have enough time or resources to participate as much as I wish I could.
My hope is that through the next 3 months, we can begin to see and feel repair in our fabric of community through our shared ministry to each other, and through that process, we get to have a new foundation of a different future.
I fear that I was blind to opportunity to connect and care and missed my own supremacist, ableist behaviors, and which led towards superficial connections.
My hope is that my family will find friendship and insight and knowledge and moral thinking at church.
I fear, as an older cisgender white male, that I have no role in this, and I'm part of the problem and not part of the solution.
My hope is ecstatic and challenging and prophetic, ritual, vibrant community, deeply invested in the local neighborhood and known as a source of joy for Oakland.
Amen. I fear we may not be able to honor each other's true experiences and perspectives.
My hope is that this process will help us all see the work we need to do, each of us, to be truly welcoming to BIPOC folks and motivate us to embrace new, hard work.
I fear that I won't know what to do.
I hope FUCO remembers those of us who are homebound, those of us in palliative care, and those of us who are alone.
My hope is that together we will turn the wheel.
My hope is that we build a diverse congregation.
My hope is we can heal and grow and come out of this stronger.
My hope is that we learn to keep talking to each other, even when we feel troubled as individuals or as a church, that we learn to listen, act, and make hard decisions together.
My hope is to provide the openness that allows me to share my spiritual work, the inner work that charges how I perceive in a different way.
And my hope is that I get to grow old and older among you. I will look back and see all the growth, and I'll look forward and see all the diverse community that is authentic and not fake or forced. That my daughter and my grandchildren will choose to join from time to time, knowing they belong, and that we will attract a minister that can handle us in all of our faults and strengths.
My greatest hope is that we will find renewed purpose, looking outward to the community and return to service.
My hope that we will continue to listen, we'll continue to speak our most messy, painful truths, that we will do our best, individually and collectively, to step into justice for the world, that we will head to each other's direction when the going is hard, and that we will say, I need you, even though I can't even imagine right now that we seem to connect. That we will not give up on each other, and our faith is that we will be together. Join us in singing. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
There is more love, more peace, more joy, more hope. Right here. Not somewhere, it's right here. It's right here. It's in each of you. You just got to let it out. You don't have to find it. You've already found it. You just have to claim it and share it and let it come out. What you have done today is planted a seed of hope, of love, of joy, of potential, of transformation, of growth. You have planted a seed for the future of the First Unitarian Church of Oakland. And that's why we're not going to put that chalice out. That chalice is going to stay lit. Now, once again, I see the faces. You can't do that. We have to put the fire out. You cannot leave fire in this room. It's not going to stay lit forever, but it's going to stay lit when you leave this room. And it's going to be okay, I promise. Because we have another chalice that we are going to light from the flame of the big chalice. And we're going to take it with us into lunch and into our workshop. We're going to take with us that little seed, and we're going to guard it with our hearts, and we're going to share it with one another, not knowing whether it's going to grow up to be a mighty oak or a walnut tree or a daisy or a rose, not knowing what color rose it will be, but knowing that it will open. We know this rose will open. It will open here. I know you will. You are the rose. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. Sing it with me again and again as we leave this place. As we move into lunch, let's keep singing. As we go in to do the work of tending that seed, let's keep singing. I know